Yep.
Chapter 12.
Can you believe it?
I
Local
can't.
government.
We have been in the same clothes now for 4 days, getting these done daily, you
A
know.
little rancid over here, but
All right, so types of governments here that we're gonna be taking a look at, we'll be looking at in this section, we'll be looking at counties, we'll be looking at townships, we'll be looking at what they have regarding like New England towns, and then we're also gonna be looking at cities.
We'll build this
Here we
city.
go. Main idea, there are many varieties of local government, certain government structures and are ideal for small towns. Large city governments are organized in different ways. And we're gonna be looking at some different key terms here. We're gonna be taking a look at boards, we're gonna take a look at ordinances, which I know you don't know at this point in time, but we'll also be taking a look at municipalities as well.
all right.
There we go.
Let's go to the first slide.
So let's jump into counties and townships. Everybody knows, you know, we live in Stevens County and it's just a section of a state. This goes back, here's the history nerd again, and this goes all the way back to the colonial era where they were dividing land up based on who was gonna farm which land, and those chunks of land were called counties.
And if you're bored at home and want something to do, you can check out anything from the Stevens County Museum and stuff and find out about our history of our county.
All right, so our county is actually run, we don't have like a mayor of the county, we have a county board. And the board is made up from people from different areas of our county, and then they make decisions for Stevens County. Things like social services, foster care, healthcare, help me out, everyone, roads.
There's a really good website that Stevens County actually has put together, and we usually look at that website and we look at the different boards and the board members, and there's a lot of information about our county in the Stevens County website.
And the county seat is where the county government is held, and Morris is the county seat for Stevens County.
And if you're ever wondering where the board meets, they meet in our courthouse. And we usually would like to take a tour there, and I don't know if we'll be able to do that obviously this year, but we'll have to see, maybe we can put together a web tour. We'll have to see.
Then you see the term ordinance. The federal government passes acts, laws, and the state government passes statutes, but local governments pass ordinances.
So they're like laws.
They are laws.
They are laws
laws.
of this land, as small as this land is.
So ordinances are laws.
Smoking ban, you know, selling the cigarettes to 21 and above, that's a local ordinance.
Same with the vaping, as far as vaping,
Right.
not for like anyone under 21, right? That's illegal, vaping
In our county.
in our
In our
county, but if
county,
you go to Alec, I'm not telling you to go to Alec, by the way, but Douglas County, it doesn't have the
It's
same
different.
ordinance, so differences.
There we go. In townships, now, they're divisions of counties into smaller parcels of land. I mean, you can just, by looking at this whole setup, you can see that the framers of our Constitution had a desire to maintain a local control, right? It was, you know, the desire is to keep the power in the hands of the people.
And our townships are 6 miles by 6 mile squares.
I did not know that.
36 square miles is our township size.
And actually, if any of you grew up and want to be part of a government, this is like city, different local governments are a great place to start. So city, county, school boards, those kind of things.
Especially out in the rural areas. That's probably where a lot of young people will end up becoming involved with government, will be being on their local town board.
And they need you, so I hope that you do.
Yeah, how many former students of ours are on the board?
Yeah.
Well, a lot
Or
more
on
than
the
you
fire
guys.
department, or
Yeah.
police department, or those
Yeah.
kind of things. They serve our community well.
Absolutely. All right. Now, New England towns, they set up a little different form of government. This goes all the way back to the Pilgrims and whatnot. So they established villages and whatnot based on where the farmland was. And then, they also had such a strong belief in the Pilgrim faith that everybody should be involved in government, that church and government at that time were held in the same building. And it was your duty to be participating in your city government and your township governments to make sure that you played an active role.
And it usually goes along with the difference between indirect democracy and direct democracy. Direct democracy is where all the people in the town, so-called maybe out in the west, where you had the town meeting where everybody would come together and have a meeting. We don't really do that right now. We're very indirect. We elect representatives, people then that are going to work on our behalf. Municipalities, government that serves the people who live in the urban area.
So it can be St. Cloud, it can be Morris, can be Alec, can be Minneapolis. So the size there's a wide range, is what I'm trying to say.
I think a good example comes from our metro area. It's called the Three Rivers Park System. And yes, we have former Morris students working for Three Rivers. And that involves a number of different parks along the Minnesota rivers and whatnot, that the rivers travel through multiple counties. So this system was set up so that all the parks could maintain a consistency and whatnot. There's a lot there.
Dale, will you please call Jody in the office? Dale, please call Jody. Thank you.
We have two different types of council plans that are out there. There's the weak mayor plan, and then there's the opposite. There's the strong mayor. And it doesn't mean that a weak mayor is weak, right? All what it means is that the mayor lacks executive powers. Most of the power then in a weak mayor plan is going to result in the result of a council like Morris. Mayor Sheldon Gies does not make the decisions for the city. The council will make the decisions. Sheldon Gies, our mayor, he is one of the person that votes and decides also. Versus like a strong mayor plan, there the mayor is going to make the decisions for the city.
Does a mayor and a weak mayor plan have a veto at all or anything? I'm curious. This is new to me, so to speak, and I never used the phrase weakened mayor.
I think they just have a vote.
It's just a vote. It's just a vote in our. You'll hopefully maybe get a chance to see. Maybe we'll try to put something together where you can actually see a city council meet. But as a result of the meeting, the mayor is going to be in charge of running the meeting, giving people a chance. But our mayor Sheldon Gies will also vote on the issues. He's just one, just like the other city council members.
And what's not up there on that particular slide is that, like in Morris, we have a council manager.
Yeah.
And so Blaine Hill, our city decided that they wanted to hire a professional to run the day-to-day workings of our government. And so Ed Larson was the manager previously, and now we have Blaine Hills, and he makes the bulk of the decisions. He gets them okayed. He does pretty much all of the work. And he goes to the day-to-day decisions. He goes to the council and he says, "This is kind of what's going on. I need your approval." They get all of their information pretty much ahead of time. They figure out how they're going to vote. Then they come and they address the situation publicly because that's the law. And then they vote, and there you have it. So
the bottom line is, if you or any one of us in the city of Morris has a problem with the city, we should go to Blaine Hill first, and then Blaine will make the decision. If we don't like that, then we can go to a meeting and express our differences or things that we want to change to the council at Morris.
And then at that council meeting, there's different officials, like our city attorney is often there. And then he can weigh in, or he will say, "You know what, I will check that out and I will get back to you." So it's a very, what am I trying to say. There's like a specific protocol to how the meetings are run and how things are passed and how they're addressed. So nothing's done in one meeting. It's a very public proposition.
Right, if you think this doesn't affect any of you guys, students your age are the ones that started ideas about like the skateboard park or frisbee golf or whatnot, that are direct changes in our city. And whatnot.
Or something as simple as the city where you can go out and walk your dog, for example. Items where people are bringing forth ideas and stuff to the city, and then the city takes some of those things and they will decide if they have enough money or if they can maybe get a grant from the state to be able to allow this to happen.
I had students who helped bring about the RFC. So that, granted, that was a long time ago. I get that you guys were barely born, but,
And the skateboard park
All
was
of
very,
that.
very influential with just students, actually students when we were actually in class that were coming up with ideas of things that they wanted to do.
so you can be very involved. They want you to be involved, actually. All right, so we'll keep
Absolutely.
going. Oh, here's our
Council manager plan, yeah, we've talked about that. That's Mr. Hills, Wayne Hills, is our manager, and he does all the kind of the work, but he doesn't get a vote. There we go. All right, let's move on here. Commission plans, voters choose several commissioners to direct city's different departments. You know, so we have a park commissioner, we have,
Breckenridge, actually, the city of Breckenridge, Minnesota has a commission, and that's where Blaine Hills where he was before. He did not necessarily like that plan, and as a result, he likes our plan much better. Again, but there are different options, you know, that you can decide if you're a city what you want to. One of the things you should also know is that the city has a constitution. We talked about the federal government having a constitution. The state government has a constitution. The city actually, it's called a charter, and the city has that charter. And in the book, Mr. Hills brings it in, and it's a big book. Honestly, it's about 2 inches thick, just with rules about how the city should be ran.
Yeah, like how many chickens you can have in your garage,
And
and
if you can have chickens,
if you can have chickens.
if you
in
can
your
ride a
garage.
horse, or
If
you can keep a horse.
So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
here we go. All right, here's a diagram that's in your textbook also, comparing a weak mayor plan to a strong mayor plan. Following the arrows, you kind of can get a clue of what happens. Again, if you have any questions about something like this, why don't you shoot us an email?
Well, and I just think, just to add, you can see, you know, by looking at the plan, that the strong mayor obviously is going to have, you know, more of an influence as far as the actions that are going to be taken in the decision-making process.
Well, and often when you have a strong mayor, it's their job. When you have a weak mayor, they have another career. It's what they do for public service.
And you're going to see that probably like in the city of New York, you know, where
Yep.
all of a sudden, you know, you're going to have really important decision-making skills.
Yeah, de Blasio has his hands full.
That's right.
All right, let's move on. Okay, what a pretty picture of a street.
Now look at the picture, because in the next slide, they're gonna ask you questions about the picture. And Waldo is not in this one, so don't be looking for it.
All right, let's take a
Here we
look and
go.
see the picture. Here's the first question. Describe the scene in this photograph. So what did you see?
Oh, pick me.
Go ahead.
Oh, I saw like urban area. It was a road with street lights, and there were plenty of cars, and it was either at dusk or dawn. So I don't know if I was coming to work or going home from work. That's what I was seeing.
You know, as I was looking, you know, seeing, as you mentioned, the light towers, the lights, like who's in charge of that, who puts it in, is there order, is there structure? I can tell you all of this actually is structured out here in our community, in regarding to our electricity, who decides what providers that are going to be here in our community, providing us with internet. There's a whole host of things that the city has to do. And as a result, nobody really can just come into our business, into our town and start a business without honestly getting the blessing of our city.
Yeah, if you look at that, there's, businesses along that main road in the middle, and then it can, in the background, there looked like there were some houses and whatnot. So you get into these decisions about where do businesses go, where does housing go? You don't want to continually intermix them.
And that's one of the big things that even mentioned is about zoning, about where you can start a business or where a business can be located at. And those are important to kind of decide how our city is going to grow, how the city of Morris is going to expand. So zoning is one of these aspects that's really, really important to our city.
And that's kind of, you remember in the Fifth Amendment, eminent domain, sometimes, things change after 100 years. And so they rezone, and they might purchase land or require that you sell your land so that that big highway can be built. Those are kind of things that our government has to decide what's the best for the most people. And so that's kind of what's going on there.
And that leads us to question number 2. Does this scene show evidence of land use as far as planning?
Now flip back so we can look at it. Now someone had to plan that, right? They had to figure out where the sidewalks are going to be and where the businesses were and how far out you would see like where homes are.
That was my point, that I was going to really take a look. You can see that they're businesses, but you're not seeing like residential homes.
Correct. Yeah.
But you're also not seeing skyscrapers, right?
Right.
Could be zoned for smaller type of businesses.
Right. Yeah. And you're also not seeing what's under the street. We got to think cities do all the sewers and the gutters and the cabling and whatnot that go underneath, because you can't continually have different plans for different cities. It's got to be standardized or we have chaos.
And there are ordinances, for example, if you take a look at as far as the height of signs and how tall a sign could possibly be. It's like, and I know you don't quite understand, but there are all these rules and regulations that cities have in regard to their zoning and laws that you have to follow.
And then in this particular picture, this is a guess, not a for sure thing, but you're also looking at federalism, because that particular, usually 4-lane roads, highways, they're more like a state or a federal road. And smaller roads, narrower roads, tend to be more of the local government run roads. So that particular road, given how straight it is, and that it probably extends much further out, I mean, we're probably looking at a federal road. And so you've got all kinds of layers of government working together in that particular, just on that road.
Good point. Well,
This picture's really worth 1,000 words.
that concludes section 1 of chapter 12, and hopefully, I guess we got one other graph left. Honestly,
I like this. I really like this graphic organizer, because there's so many different types of local governments. This really lays out a nice example of what different formats are and what people can do and whatnot. So, for those of you that are new to the whole local government game, take a nice deep look at this. This is a lot of information on the one slide.
I think most of you can read it, and honestly, if you have any questions,
Feel free
talk
to
to
get a
us,
hold of
okay?
us.
Or talk to your parents and see what they think or what kind of ideas they have.
Call City Hall.
There you go. Thanks a lot
Keep
for
them
listening
working.
to us, okay?
All right,
Miss
have a
you.
good day.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.